Good. So, how are you feeling now? Do you feel loving kindness? After a meditation on loving kindness. Okay, good. And you are feeling quite meditative. You don't feel like talking, right? Okay, good. So, what is today's topic? Do you know what's today's topic? I heard that some of you come for morning service every Sunday, and you don't even bother what topic it is. You just come and support, right? And listen. Very good. So what's today's topic? Very good. Would you die for your country? And since it's a Dharma talk, so we are going to talk from what we call a Buddhist perspective. Okay? Very good. So as usual, I would like today's topic to be what we call interactive sharing. Okay, so feel free to interrupt me at any point. It's fine. If you don't understand or you have some burning questions to ask, you can always raise your hands. And also, can I invite some of you to sit in the middle, slightly shift towards, so I can try to see all of you and don't need to turn my head too much. Okay, but some can still be seated there, but maybe I can have some seated nearer to the middle. Okay, very good. Then I can look at your facial expressions and see if you understand. Okay, very good. Okay, good. Okay, so we all know National Day is around the corner. Okay, and this year is our, what year? 51st year. Huh? So we celebrated our 50th year last year. So this is the 51st year. Okay, so what would you be doing on a National Day? Huh? Lays at home. Do you try to remember the kindness of your country? No? Are we taught to do that? Maybe when we were students. Okay, but maybe it's good to do some reflections. So when I was invited to give a talk today, so we were thinking, since it's very close to National Day, so maybe we can have a Dharma sharing on this topic about loving our country. Okay, good. So, the topic, okay, is quite a little bit serious, okay? So actually when I was proposing the topic, one of our sisters was asking, remember, should we leave out the die? Maybe we can have a sacrifice or something, maybe not the word die, but I thought, it's still good to have this word. And I remember, if I'm not wrong, last year there was some sharing. I was looking at the newspaper, and then there was this group that was sharing about some topics about really asking Singaporeans, would you die for your country? Okay, so I thought, okay, maybe we can have a topic like this, okay, and we share from a Dharma perspective. Okay, but first I'll still want to check in. Okay, so either yes or no, no sitting on the fence, okay? Okay, would you die for your country? Yes, can I have your hands? So make sure the video don't videotape you, okay? So nobody will see you. Would you die for your country? Can I have any hands? A handful. Okay. No sitting on the fence, okay? So either yes or no, okay? So I'm going to ask. So, okay. So who say no? Eh? Who didn't put up your hands? Oh, so, yes? No answer. Yeah, actually, I was also sharing with another... Huh? Okay?
Those people who say they will die,
yeah.
last moment, they run away.
Okay, so as Buddhists, we shouldn't lie, right? So we should be truthful. Okay? Yeah. Depends. Okay. Yeah, you may be the first one to flee Singapore. Okay. Yes, very good. So actually, I was sharing with a small group of friends. They were going away. As Singaporeans, right? They have quite a long holiday. Yes? Actually not long, but actually there's, at least there's a holiday on Tuesday, right? So they actually went away to Malaysia. But before they went, they were discussing this topic with me, so they wanted to get more, okay, from this topic. So actually I was sharing with them, I actually asked a very difficult question that I cannot even answer myself, okay? So I will not so-called be not happy if you don't answer this question. That's why I'll need at least 1 hour to talk about this topic, right? I won't give a straight yes or no question. So all of you are very wise Buddhists, okay? Can you give yourself a clap? Very good. Okay, because some questions we cannot just answer black and white, right? Yes or no. Okay, so you are all wise. Very good. All the morning services have done you good. Okay, you have become wiser Buddhists. Okay, so let's spend more time, at least 1 hour, and discuss this topic. And at the end of this topic, let's try to answer this question again. Okay, would that be good? Okay, good. Yeah, we have some latecomers. Let them settle down a little bit. Okay. First of all, I would like to start off with a story, okay? A story from one of the sutras. Okay, so you have heard the life of the Buddha story, right? So there's actually this part of the Buddha's life that I don't think many of you have heard. So when Buddha was getting older, something happened to his homeland. Have you heard of this part of the story? Not really, right? So you didn't know how his kingdom perished in history. You never know, right? Okay, so today I'm going to share with you. Okay, so what happened was, okay, when the Buddha was getting older, okay, he was actually staying in this country. Okay, you know, India was divided into many countries, so he was staying in this country. It's called the country of Kosala, Jisa Guo. Okay, Kosala. Okay, and then he was in one of the cities, okay, in this country, where actually Buddha was there for many years giving teachings. Okay, so now he was in this part of the city, and what happened was actually something was happening, okay, in the palace of this kingdom. Okay, what happened was, okay, there's this young prince. Okay, so he was called Virudaka, if I'm not wrong. Okay, in Chinese we call him Liu Li Wangzi. Okay, so I'll share Prince Liu Li. Okay, so now he was in this palace, and then he was actually discussing with his mom. He said, "Mom, I know you were from this kingdom, which was actually where Buddha was from. Okay, so what was Buddha's surname? Do you know? Yeah, Shakya. Okay, so there was actually this Shakya clan, right, of this country. If you know Buddha's country, do you know what's capital? It starts with a K. What's the long word for his country? Kapi Lavastu. Okay, 5 syllables. Okay, Kapilavastu. Okay, that's a country. So his mother, the queen, was actually from this country. Okay, so he said, "Strange, how come I've never seen your people? They have never come to visit me, and I've never been invited to visit your country. And then I heard your father, okay, the queen's father, was actually an elder of the Shakya clan." Okay, he said, "Hey, how come I've never seen like Wai Gong, you know, my maternal grandfather?" So he was curious and full of questions. So now the queen actually was harboring a very deep secret. Okay, so this secret was never known, not even to the king. Okay, not even to the king. So, but now the prince, since he's quite of age, he insisted to go back, okay, to visit his mother's homeland. Okay, so the mother couldn't so-called prevent him. Okay, so the mother allowed. But before the prince traveled back to her homeland, she actually quickly delivered a letter. Okay, so the letter actually said, "Please, the prince is coming back. Please keep this a secret." Okay, so it's still a secret. You don't know what this secret is. Okay, so now, so the prince got ready. Okay, he went back, okay, to this homeland of the mother that he had never been, and he was quite excited and quite happy. Okay, but okay, once he reached this country, it's very strange. Okay, the young men have all gone to some other place, okay, to have some fun. So they were not even there to receive him. So only left like the elders, the older people receiving him. So he was actually quite surprised and quite unhappy. And then what happened? Okay, some more. Okay, the elders didn't really give him any respect. So the answer that some of them gave was, okay, you are a young man, so we are elders. Okay, so we welcome you, but just try to have some time here. So it wasn't a good welcome at all. So the prince was getting angrier and angrier. Okay, and then before he left this place, he said, I'm going to take revenge, okay, for all this treatment that you are giving me. But I'll go home and check with my mom first, okay, what's actually happening. Okay, so then he went back, okay, and he really questioned the mom this time, okay, why was I given this treatment? Okay, and the mom, okay, had to so-called share this secret, okay, that even the king didn't know. Anybody know what the secret was? Anybody knew at all this part of the Buddha story? Okay, so you know that the Buddha was from a very noble blood, right? The Shakya clan, very noble blood. Okay, so back then the king, right? The king, he was quite a young man, okay, and he managed to conquer many places, and then he could have this, quite a big country of his own, but he was not of this, what we call this kind of noble blood. Okay, so in order to make sure that he can continue to have noble blood, what would be a good thing to do? Yes, very good. Yes, marry someone of noble blood. Okay, so then he was really eyeing this country, Kapilavastu, okay, the Buddha's hometown, and then with the princesses in mind. So he actually tried to order, for a princess of the noble blood to be married to him, so that then he can continue, okay, to have this lineage of noble blood. Okay, but what happened over at Kapilavastu's side? Do you think they are willing to marry the really noble blood princess to this king? Okay, that time he was still quite a young king, okay, and definitely not of noble blood. So what happened? There was this elder, he thought of a plan, okay. So what was this plan? The plan was, he actually had a daughter with the lowest caste. What was the lowest caste? It's still existing in India. Do you know what's the lowest caste? Yeah, the untouchables, right? The slaves, etc. Right? So he actually had some kind of like relationship with a slave, and then they actually gave birth to a daughter. So it's actually a slave's daughter. So let's say in the caste system in India, whenever there's any so-called what do you call it? Yeah, if it's not pure, okay, not pure noble blood, it's like considered stain, okay? So even if you're of noble blood, you marry someone of a lower caste, end up still not noble blood. So it exists like this. Huh? So he actually thought of this plan. Actually, it's also they didn't want to give in to this king, right? And then also they didn't want to marry off any princess to this king. So they did this. Okay, happened that this slave's daughter was actually quite a pretty girl. Huh? So actually after they dressed her up, she looked like a princess. Okay, then they really married her off. Okay, so the king happily married her, thinking, wow, now he has this noble blood princess, and then this prince is of noble blood. So now what happened after don't know how many years? Now the prince is grown up, right? So it's now known, okay, that this prince is not of noble blood. The queen is also not. So out of anger, okay, this king actually tried to like disown them in a way, send them back to this slave group and did some work. But after some advice from actually the generals, and actually the words went to Buddha. Okay, so Buddha actually gave some words, shared his advice that he shouldn't do this to his own family, right? The queen and the son. So okay, he welcomed back to the palace, but the treatment was never like before. Okay, it was never like before. So again, the prince was really unhappy. Okay, and he was still thinking of revenge. This time not just for Buddha's country, but also for who? His father, right, who tried to disown him. So lots of hatred in his mind. Okay. So now come Buddha's part already. Okay. So what happened? He actually gathered all his army, okay, and tried to invade Buddha's country. Okay. And actually it was his grandfather's country, right? Yeah. So he actually did that. So right in the morning, early in the morning, they actually traveled, right, with this troop of army. But on the way, they were actually so-called prevented. How? What happened? The Buddha was actually with his disciples seated, okay, right in the path. Okay, right in the path of this road, let's say, to the country. So he couldn't. And in those days, if someone like the Buddha, right, a saint like the Buddha, were to be seated right there, you cannot do anything. You cannot just charge. Okay, so he retreated. Okay, out of respect also for the Buddha. So early in the morning, he retreated. Okay, so now next time he thought, okay, I'll set out early in the morning, very early in the morning before the sun rises. Okay, I bet the Buddha will not know, he will not be around. Okay, and still what happened? You all know Buddha had powers, right? Buddha knew what was happening. So again, second time, okay, Buddha was seated there. So he had to retreat for the second time. Third time, this time he thought, I'll set out even earlier in the morning, okay? Like maybe the wee hours of the morning. Maybe Buddha will be sleeping, okay? So I'll try again. By the way, do you know what time the Buddha woke up in his days? 4 o'clock. Are you sure? Yeah, okay. Monks wake up, also Buddha wake up at 4 also. Actually, in the Buddha's days, Buddha only slept let's say 4 hours. So sometimes it's really from 10 to even 2 a.m. sometimes. Okay, so Buddha woke up very early in the morning. Okay, and then what happened? For the third time, he was still brought by the Buddha. Okay, Buddha was seated right there again. Okay, 4 times. So he was really determined. Okay, 4 times. This time he took a detour. Okay, another route, and it was some mountain roads. So the Buddha was actually very old and quite ill. Also, actually, the Buddha was quite ill at that time. So he thought the Buddha definitely would not be able to climb mountains. Okay, and this time what happened? Buddha was still seated there. Okay, he climbed up the mountain and tried to block. Okay, but this time, could he prevent this karma from happening to his country? No, the prince was really determined. So he didn't care for the Buddha and his disciples, and he just charged, almost hurt the Buddha. Luckily, okay, almost. Okay, so he went. Okay, so the Buddha knew that he couldn't prevent this anymore. He did his best. Okay. Yeah, so now the prince and his whole army, right? They went to the hometown and they really killed, okay, almost all the people. So remember the grandfather, right? Okay, this time the grandfather came out, and then he said something to this prince. He said, "Okay, I know you are ready to kill all of us, but give me some time, okay? I'm going to jump into this lake. Okay, there's a lake. Okay, I'm going to jump into this lake." Okay, so before I come out of this lake, during this period, you please let as many people flee as possible. Okay, and then once I'm out of this lake, then you can kill all you want. So he was trying to buy time, so-called. Okay, yeah. So the prince thought, okay, this old man, his grandfather. Okay, the most you can probably be immersed inside for maybe a few minutes. I'll just give you a few minutes. I'll just stop killing for a few minutes. Okay, so the elder went into the lake, and strangely, he didn't come out for some time. Okay, so then the prince ordered someone to check. So what did he find? Yeah, he actually, to prevent his body from floating, he actually tied his hair to a big rock underneath, and then so he bought as much time as he could. Okay, and then so when the prince found out, he was even more angry, and then wow, he really killed, and then the whole Shakya clan was destroyed. Okay, some could flee, but the rest were all killed. Even the women, the children were all killed. Okay, yeah. So, but we know there's always some karma to this. Okay, there was some previous karma, and definitely there would be karma to this prince, right? So he killed his grandfather. He killed his people in a way, right? His mother's people is also like his people. So, so it was said that he didn't have a good death. Okay, I think he was. There were two versions. One version was there was a great flood and then he drowned, or there was another version, there was a fire and then he was burned to death. Okay, not too long after that. Okay, so okay, now I finished this quite a long story. Okay, so let's learn from this story. Okay, so how did the Buddha show his love for his country, even at his age? Okay, so the Buddha being a peaceful man, right? So did he say, wow, let's do something to the prince? No, right? Okay, so it was actually like a peace protest in a way, right? He tried to use his body, but as a peace protest in a way. Okay, good. Okay, today all of you are quite quiet. Again? Yes, passive resistance. Like Gandhi, yeah, using his in Chinese you say his his nobility, his virtues, okay, and try to prevent this this catastrophe from happening to his country. Okay, so not just once, right? He did it again and again, as many times as he could, right, to prevent this from happening. Okay, even climb a mountain. Okay, good. So that was how he did it. So I remember one of the venerables from Taiwan, he was sharing, this probably was one of the earliest case of passive resistance, something like that. 和平抗议, one of the earliest documented case. Okay, very good. Okay, now how did the elder, right? How did the elder, the grandfather, defend his country? Yeah, he really sacrificed. Okay, he really thought of this plan, right, to save as many lives as he could. Okay, but he also knew that he was in the wrong, right? Right? He thought he had a very great plan, and then end up like that. Okay, very good. But at least he did his best. He sacrificed and then tried to save as many people as he could. Okay, very good. Okay, so any other questions from this story? That's our first story. No, sorry. They sent by horse, messenger. Yeah, messenger. Okay, quickly with a good horse, they quickly send the message back. Oh, very attentive. All the minor details, you took note. Yes. Uh-huh. Okay. Of course, when it's documented, maybe there are some details that didn't tell more, or maybe there were some details that were so-called not recorded. Okay, so definitely this is from one of the sutras. Okay, of this king, this prince who became king, right? King Virudaka. So it's from this sutra. Okay. So first question, you said the Buddha, right? Being all-knowing, he would know this would be inevitable, and then he probably wouldn't even do anything to prevent. Okay, then let's come to this topic of karma. Okay, this is a very important topic. Okay, let's try to talk more about karma. Okay, so karma means what? Means that once we have planted seeds, right? Be it good seeds, bad seeds, or just neutral seeds, the seeds would definitely ripen. Just like if you plant durian seed, would you get durian tree? Yeah. Would you get mango tree instead? If you plant a durian seed? No, right? So durian seed will get a durian tree, right? Okay. But if you plant a seed, would you definitely get a durian tree? No, why? Yeah, depend on a lot of conditions, right? Whether enough sunlight, enough, or whether it will be the seed will be eaten up by some insects or something. No, insect will not eat durian seed. Okay, yeah. So a lot of conditions. So karma means what? Karma means okay, there's some action being done, but we need conditions before the effects would happen. Okay, so definitely the Shakya clan, right, would have some karma with this prince, let's say. Okay, this would have been planted long ago. Okay, but whether definitely it will perish in that kind of situation during that period, it would not be certain. You get what I mean? So that would depend on the conditions. So what Buddha was trying to do, he was trying to provide the conditions, okay, the good conditions to prevent this fate from happening, or at least to prolong, right? So it could have happened maybe the first time, right, when the prince set out, right? So who knows, maybe some people will have traveled, maybe like they have short holiday, they have traveled out of the country or something, so some people may be not killed or something. Okay, so he did whatever he can. Okay, in Chinese we always say, 先尽人事，后听天命. That means we try to do whatever we can, then we leave it to so-called fate or karma or whatever. So brother, you got it? Yes, okay. Yeah, so not just a story after all. Huh? Okay, it's from a sutra. Okay, very good. Okay. So let's say in Mahayana prayers, every night we do a so-called dedication prayer. So within this prayer, there are 4 kinds of kindness that we need to repay. Would you like to guess what 4 kinds of kindness? Because I know all of you don't really do Mahayana prayers, right? So you probably won't know what are the 4 kinds of kindness. Would you like to guess? Definitely. Okay. Yeah, Brother Yo. Okay, good. So parents, definitely. Without parents, would there be you? No, right? Without them bringing you up. Okay, so definitely kindness for our parents. So that's 1. Okay, second one. Very good, teachers. Okay, so here teachers also include definitely our Triple Gem, right? So that's our supreme teacher, the Buddha, and then our teachers from the Dharma and all the Sangha members, right? So in the Buddhist context, we will say the Triple Gem and all the teachers. Very good. That's the second group. 2 more? Yes, that's this one. Okay. Since they prepare, I must wave a bit. Huh? Okay, very good. Definitely. In Chinese, we always say 没有国哪有家, huh? Okay. So I remember I was watching this musical. Actually, it's the story of one of the Chinese masters called Venerable Hong Yi, Master Hong Yi. Have you heard of Hong Yi Dashi? Yeah? Okay, he wrote many songs. So now you're into music, right? So you can listen to some of the songs he wrote. There's this very famous one, the Buddhist one. It's called San Bao Ge. Okay, San Bao Ge, the melody was composed by him, and then the lyrics was written by this master called Tai Shi Dashi. Okay, so they were very great monks, and then they really 爱国. Okay, why? Because in that period, it was actually during the Japanese occupation, the Second World War. That was the period that they were in, and they were actually quite old. Let's say for Hong Yi Dashi, he passed away, if I'm not wrong, it was maybe 1938 or something. Okay, so that was around that period. Okay, so he was really writing essays, to let's say to encourage the people to really love their country, to try to defend China from the Japanese attack, etc. Okay, but you know what Master Hong Yi was doing actually during his last part of his life? He was actually in a retreat. Okay, yeah, he was in a retreat, but he continued to have some words written, and he wrote very good calligraphy, so he also wrote calligraphy to give to people. So there were 2 famous so-called sayings that he said in those days. Okay, so I shall say in Chinese and then I'll translate. So he actually said, 念佛 不忘救国，然后救国必须念佛。Okay, so what was he saying? He said, because his main practice was to chant the Buddha's name, okay? So and then the people in those days, they were doing quite a bit of this practice. So he was encouraging himself and the people, okay, especially the Buddhists, when you chant the Buddha's name, don't forget about saving your country, okay? And when you save your country, all the more you should chant the Buddha's name. Okay? So in a while, I'll elaborate more about this. But let's go to the fourth kindness first. What's the fourth kindness? Wow. How come you all know? So wise, huh? Oh, in Theravada, you all talk about this also, right? I think, important also, right? These 4 kinds of kindness. Yes, definitely. The kindness of all sentient beings. Why? Because if we have so many lifetimes, right? Then most probably all the people that you know, and even all sentient beings, would have some connections with you in one way or another, right? So especially in Tibetan Buddhism, they talk a lot about mother sentient beings, right? 如母众生, mother sentient beings. What does that mean? That means that most probably, okay, all the sentient beings could have been our mothers in previous lifetimes, since we have so many lifetimes. Okay? Make sense? Yes. Okay, good. Okay, so 4 kinds of kindness, definitely one of them would be kindness for repaying the kindness for your country. Okay, so let's go back to what I shared about Master Hong Yi's sayings. Okay, yeah. So which is the point I want to emphasize today. Okay, during our short talk. So the more you love your country, the more you should practice. Okay, do your practice. Yeah, and the more you do your practice, the more you should also try to dedicate, okay, to your country's well-being, welfare. Okay, does that make sense? Do you think it would be a good practice for you to do? So add on, okay, this so-called love for your country in your daily dedication, okay, after you do your practice. Okay, good. Okay, so any questions so far? Are you still with me? Yeah? Okay? So, I think sometimes in times like this, right, where we have stability, so it's very different from, let's say, if we look at history, in those days when, let's say, when there were like enemies, occupation, etc., right, to really arouse such so-called spirit or so-called love for your country. So now, like everything seems quite okay, right? So you only think of what? Food, durians. Go Malaysia, eat durians. So how often do you think of more serious topics like this? Okay? So all the more in today's sharing, we should try to set aside some time, okay, to ponder, to really contemplate, okay, about how our country has really supported us so that we can be who we are, we can be where we are now. Okay? But I don't feel anything. Huh? All of you?
We are not that stable because this morning's paper.
What happened?
Indonesia in Batam Island, they rounded up some people.
Really? Really? Just this morning's paper? Okay. Oh, okay, very good. So this brother has reminded us, okay, we are not that stable, okay? Very good. Very good. Okay, so maybe let's talk about NS, National Service. Okay, so, in Singapore and in many countries, okay, so we have so-called national service, right? We try to train a group of men to try to be able, okay, to defend our country. I heard that, let's say in other countries, even some women, more women than maybe in Singapore, right, would also really sign up as women soldiers, okay, to try to defend. So that's usually the way that we will do to try to defend our country, right? So So in Singapore, yes, let's say we have national service, okay? But after a certain age, you all don't need, they won't need you anymore, right? What age, the guys? By what age you are 老弱残兵 already? Old soldiers already. 40, They don't need you already, They will recruit younger ones, So no more reservists, right? After 40, I heard that. Is it? Is it the case? They don't want you already, Okay, good. So, but here, since it's a Buddhist talk, right? So we will not just talk about national service, okay? Okay, let's say in Thailand. What's their so-called national service in Thailand? Yeah, you become a monk for about how long? 3 months, 6 months, as long as you can, right? Some Buddhist leaders became monks also, right? Yeah, or yeah, etc., right? Okay, so since it's a Buddhist country, so that's their way of, in a way, love for their country. Because if you are a good man, right? If you are a good man, and a group of good men and women, how would that help the country? No. How would a group of good men and women help the country? I'm not just talking about strong men and women, right? to defend. Yes, very good. Do not underestimate the power of our mind, and not to mention a group of, a group of minds. Okay, to radiate. Okay, peace, radiate loving kindness. Okay, so it will not just benefit our country, it will also benefit this whole world and even this whole universe. Okay, so not to underestimate. Okay, so let's go back. So in our Buddhist context, again, okay, the very good way, in fact, the most ultimate way, okay, is for you to try, to so-called maintain your mind, okay, of peace, of love, of all the good qualities, compassion, wisdom, etc. So that's the best way that you can contribute to our country. Make sense? Okay? Yeah. Okay. So let's say in China, in the Himalayan mountains, do you know that, let's say, even just one practitioner, okay, meditating very well, right, in the mountain, you know what happens to the whole mountain? It becomes what we call a sacred mountain, a holy mountain, because of a very sacred person practicing there. Okay, so if we have one sacred person in Singapore, what will happen to Singapore? Sacred country. Okay, so even if let's say Batam, they try to bomb us, let's say, somehow you become flowers. Okay, okay. So really, so it's important that each one of us do our best in this aspect. Okay. So next, I want to share this one of very inspiring stories that I've heard since very young. Okay, when I learned about Buddhism. So it's actually mentioned in the Diamond Sutra. Okay, Diamond Sutra. Anybody read Diamond Sutra? Nobody? Okay, good. So actually there was this episode that happened. What happened was, the Buddha had previous lifetimes as practitioners also. Okay, so there was one lifetime, he was called Ren Ru Xian Ren. Okay, so he practiced patience. One of the paramitas, okay, patience, Ren Ru. And then he actually practiced it so well. Okay, so he became like a Xian Ren, a very sacred person. Even one of the translations they gave was like, patience immortal, really, they call him. Okay, so he practiced so well until, okay, one day he was seated, okay, meditating, and then in his this state of patience, and then the king happened to pass by. And the king, when he traveled, right, in those days, even now the king also do it this way. Do they travel alone? No, right? Kings would have his whole, what we call entourage, And then, the entourage would not just consist of like generals to protect the king. It will also be his, any idea? The females? Who are they? his concubines. Okay, yes, a lot of kings have a lot of concubines, so he will bring them, okay, for some tour or something. Okay, so now what happened was, okay, this group of concubines, they were so curious, with this Ren Ru Xianren. So actually the story was, probably his hair was very long, and his nails were very long also. No time to cut his nails, no time to trim his hair or something. So anyway, and I read also that he was so patient that there were also nests on his head. Can you imagine? For a bird to build nests, right, they really, based on their instinct, they will need to feel very safe in order to build nests on whatever trees, okay? So end up, they built nests on his head. Why? Very safe. He will be very patient for them to hatch the eggs and then to become little birds. Okay, so that was what happened. So imagine how curious the concubines would be. So they all, ran to look at this Xianren. So what happened to the king? Would he feel jealous? Yeah, oh, my concubines are attracted to you, who are you? So he went towards this practitioner and then questioned him, and then said, hey, what are you doing here? Then he said, I'm practicing patience. Okay? And then the king said, since you're practicing patience, let me do something to you. So what did the king do? He started to, harm him. I think by really cutting him, like first his ears, then his hands, and then his feet. But what happened to the practitioner? He was really, the Buddha's previous lifetime, he was really a good practitioner. This brother would say, story again, You know what happened? He practiced so much patience that he didn't feel a single anger and no pain. Oh, this is like miracle already. How can this happen? Started to chop off every, bits and pieces of his body. So much, so until, wow, even the king himself was amazed. Like, how come you're not even responding, and you are still feeling so much so-called patience. Yeah. And the most touching thing really that touched me was the practitioner said, when I become enlightened, the first one I want to, in Chinese, right, we say 度, 第一个我要度的是度你. So not this 度, Hokkien or something. But it's really to liberate you, to really help you. Okay, he actually made that vow at that moment. Can you imagine that kind of compassion, that kind of patience? Someone cutting you up, and then you said, the first one I want to help is you. So much patience, so much compassion. So that was the Buddha. And you know what happened in the Buddha's lifetime? Do you know who was the first disciple he helped? The first one who gained arahantship? I don't know his Pali name. I can't remember, but the Chinese name is Qiao Chenru Zunzi. So remember the Buddha had 5 disciples, right? Then he turned the Dharma wheel, right? The Four Noble Truths. Then the 5 disciples, one by one, they gained enlightenment. The first one. So he was the most senior one. His Pali name? Kwandana. Yeah, Qiao Chenru. Okay? Yeah, so that was him. So he was the king, King Kali, Ge Wang, King Kali in that lifetime. Okay? Wow. So it's so much, okay, patience, so much compassion, so much love, okay, for people, even those who harm us. So isn't it important to practice well? Okay. So I heard also, let's say, a lot of Tibetan masters during the invasion, right, from China, right? They actually, when they were interviewed after many years, they actually said, they were interviewed whether were they fearful. Let's say, did they feel any fear? Actually, a lot of the practitioners, they said, my worst fear, right? I was most fearful of losing my compassion for the Chinese. Can you imagine that kind of compassion? Their fear was losing compassion for the enemies, I say. Okay, so that kind of compassion. So it's only possible if we really practice well. Okay, if not, your world will be a very different world, very samsaric world. Okay, very layman term. Okay, yeah. Even like simple short stories. I was also attending a talk, and then I heard this story from this venerable. He said he just gave a very nice, but to me it was still inspiring about how people can harm us, right? But or take our belongings, but we still feel so much compassion for them. So there was this like Japanese Zen master, I think. Okay, so he was quite a recluse. He was actually staying in this base of the mountain in a small kuti. So also as a very poor monk, let's say, he actually didn't have much in his house. So one day he was out, I think, giving teachings. Then when he came back, he bumped into a thief. Okay. So this thief, maybe he didn't do research. He actually tried to steal from a monk in the first place, and then steal from a kuti. So did he find anything? What could he steal from a kuti? Nothing. It was quite empty. Okay, so then when he tried to sneak up, then he bumped into the owner of this kuti, this Zen master. So this Zen master actually took pity on him. Oh, you came and then empty-handed. So sorry. Okay, so what did the Zen master do? He took off his robe. Okay, he said, "This is the only thing I can give you." Really, monks, right? We are just monks and nuns. The basic things that we can have, right, is our 3 robes and the alms bowl. So that was really what he had. So since he still needed his alms bowl, but he could give up his clothing, so he gave him his clothing, and for him to sell. So probably he can have some money or something. Yeah, and then the thief was so frightened. Okay, so he quickly took the rope and then he ran away. So as the master saw him, running away, he actually lamented some more. He said, "Too bad I can't give you this beautiful moonlight." Okay, yeah, I can't take down the moon and give you something like that. Okay, so that's also the compassion of a good practitioner. Okay, good. Yes, I heard. Yes, actually, in all groups, right, there are always some what we call extremists. Okay, extremists. So they may have some extreme ideas. Yeah, and also even in Tibet they have self-immolation, right? Or even last time in Vietnam, I think. So actually, all this, the Buddha. Do you think the Buddha would agree to such actions? No. So now we come to this very important concept in Buddhism. Okay, the Pali word is ahimsa. Any idea what this word is? Non-violence, non-injury, okay, non-hurt, non-killing in our context. So our number 1 precept, okay, 5 precepts, right? The number 1 precept is about non-killing. So this is a very important precept to uphold. So anything that's against this precept would be against the Buddha's wishes, okay, the Dharma. Okay, so it would be some extremist actions. Okay, so hopefully there will be not so much. But all this aside, you have heard that it's always commented that Buddhism is really one of the few religions that have the least bloodshed. Okay, that have happened in the name of the religion. Let's say, right? It's really that's because we are such a peace-loving religion, and then we emphasize so much on ahimsa. Okay, ahimsa. Okay, for every being, including, just now I mentioned in our loving kindness meditation, what were the last group of beings? Yeah, all sentient beings. So not just for human beings. Okay, so let's say for Mahayana tradition, we have vegetarianism, also because of compassion for all the animals also. Okay, so it's really so much compassion for all living beings. Okay, very good. Yes. So also we need to look at the context. Actually, they use it more for defense. Actually, if I'm not wrong, I never learned Kung Fu. Those who learn Kung Fu, if you know Kung Fu in general, right, it's never to hurt others. It's really for self-defense. Yeah. Actually, I heard that, the Jet Li, right, Li Lianjie, he actually did a repentance not so long ago, maybe last year or something. You know what he repented? What did Jet Li repent? Any idea? Yeah, you know, there was a very famous show. Maybe you all were too young. Some of you too young to watch. Some of you maybe Chinese show you all didn't watch. Huh? Shaolin Si. There was this famous movie. I watched it when I was very young. Okay, Shaolin Si. And then because of his Shaolin Si, it was such a so-called famous so-called movie. That actually many young people went to learn Kung Fu. Okay, but they might have learned it with different motives. Really learning and then for violence, for fighting or whatever. Okay, but if you remember the movie, a lot of times it's really for defense, and then if only there's a need to really retaliate, then they may then retaliate. Yeah, but usually they don't. So nowadays it's more for show. You know, the Chinese Kung Fu, I think they still travel around. But anyway, a lot of them, the so-called Wu Shen, the Kung Fu ones, they are not real monks, you know. Yeah, so you all don't think that they are real monks. Real monks don't go around performing. We have so little time to practice, so no time to perform. Okay, so it's really more for defense. Yeah. So, but it's quite interesting because, especially in China, I heard a lot of monks there. So for the lay people who didn't understand, whenever they see someone in robes like this, they will ask, "Can you teach me Kung Fu?" Yeah, so quite a misunderstanding. Okay, so it's just that minority, and they may not be real monks, but they are dressed like us. Okay, very good. Yeah. Any questions? What's the time now? One more time. Yes.
You're talking about the loving your country, right?
Yes.
Just now you mentioned there was this revenant during Second World War. He actually wrote verses about loving his country.
Yes.
Okay, coming to today, the country that he loves actually is no more lah. Okay, 中华民国 is only now is in Taiwan, right? So the actual
he was from China.
He's from China,
yeah,
correct?
He was from China. So he's from China.
国已破. That means the country is no more. So if he still happens to live until now, right? How should he, face this? How should he accept the fact that his country is no more and move on, or should he still resist the fact that there is a new government lah?
Okay, very good. So he's really from China. He's not from Taiwan,
that means in his context of China, it's nationalist China. Now it is a communist China.
Oh, okay.
It's a change of.
That's what you mean. Okay,
yeah, that's what I mean.
Because looking at the history, that was like in the 1930s.
And moreover, the China then was about freedom, about 博爱, to love. But whereas this China is a bit of a different doctrine, So, as a revenant, as a Buddhist, right? Like if he managed to live until now, how should he perceive this? How should he accept there's a change? You get what I mean?
Okay, very good question. Good for thinking deeper into the stories, let's say. Yeah, so of course he's not around anymore. And I'm not him, but I would say whatever ideology of any nations, right? Whenever they come up with an ideology, even let's say even if it's a communist idea, I remember when I was studying sociology in my times, it was actually to have an utopia, right? So the Marxism, let's say even like the communist kind of thinking, right? So it's always for the best of the people. Yeah, but of course, in action, then it may not be so idealistic, right? So then it may become quite different. So if it's Master Hong Yi, I think he will agree. Let's say he will be able to empathize that people would want to have, especially leaders, right? They will want to have the best for the countries. If not, they cannot be leaders. They will be so-called overthrown, right? Sooner or later. Right? Leaders who really act in the best interest of their citizens, right? They would be also supported, let's say, and they would really want to have the best interest. So same for whatever kind of governance, okay, regarding the countries. Yeah. But then still I would say that even because he was such a famous monk, a little bit about his story. He was actually famous throughout his lay life. Why? Because he was actually the son of the fourth wife. Okay, so his father was quite old when he was born, and then quite a rich country, and then it was still in Qing Cao. In those days, they have the 辫子, no? In those days, okay, he grew up in this kind of big family, quite a influential, rich family. Okay, but as he grew up, he learned everything, so that's why he knew calligraphy, into the music, into everything. Okay, and into the arts. He actually performed in theaters even, when he was a young man. Okay, but and he even went to Japan. That time, he even went to Japan to study. Okay, to study about the arts, etc. Then, but as he slowly grew older, he even had one more wife. I think one wife, two wives. I say, yeah. And then as he grew older, he then felt that whatever kind of so-called fulfillment he could get from the arts, from whatever he could get from music, whatever in those days, couldn't satisfy his inner kind of yearnings, etc. anymore. So he went deeper into Buddhism, yeah, and then he started to practice, meditate, etc. And then he became, he decided to ordain after that. So by the time he ordained, he was maybe about 40, close to 40. Yeah, but then his life was 100 degrees change after that. After that, he became one of our greatest precept master. Okay, from such a life of flamboyance, etc., wealth, etc., he became a monk who really upheld all the precepts. So we read that, let's say his tower, right, was like really, really old and torn and tattered, whatever, that he didn't want to change his tower, like his face tower, or even he didn't use a toothbrush, he used like one of the sticks or something, to brush his teeth, yeah, etc. Yeah, so he was really well known in those days, and a lot of people wanted to meet him. Even the Japanese generals actually had respect for him, when they were occupying China, and then they tried to visit him also, etc. But he insisted to stay in retreat so that he could really do very deep practice, and then he could dedicate his merits to his country. Yeah. So when the moment before he died, he actually wrote 4 beautiful words before he died. Okay, the words were 悲心交集. Okay, so this 悲has 2 meanings in Chinese. It's either sorrow or compassion. So you think it's sorrow? Huh? It's more compassion, okay? 悲, and then xin is like a kind of joy. Okay, so he had a lot of mixed feelings. Okay, yeah. So even if he feels sorrow, it was probably sorrow for the people, for suffering sentient beings. So there was all these feelings in him, and then very peacefully he died. Okay, yeah. So that was his story. Yeah, but all his life he really, really loved his country, and then he did his best. And then so by his example, the best way, instead of like rallying people and then to fight or whatever, yeah, it was really to be the best practitioner he could be, the best precept master he could be, and to have the best virtues to be able to dedicate his merits for all sentient beings. Okay, so I would like to emphasize, okay, we probably have many soldiers, right? We probably have many good leaders, etc., etc. Okay, but we really need many, many more good Buddhist practitioners. Okay, to really meditate. If you all attended my previous talk the other time, in March, did anybody attend my talk the last time? Yeah, quite a few of you. Yeah, so the topic was Modern Mara, right? Yeah, and actually at the end of the talk, I really was encouraging, okay, the people to really do some form of so-called practice daily. So I heard one of the sisters, she was sharing with me, okay, she has started every day, meditation, to have a routine on meditation. Okay, so that's really what I'll encourage all of you to do. Okay, so it doesn't need to be long, but it's good to be consistent every day. Okay, every day to have some form of practice. Okay, find the practice that suits you best so that you can really look into your mind. Okay, and that's the best you can do for your country, for our country. Okay, and not just for our country, for the whole world. Okay, so whenever there are when we hear of stories, so not just have compassion for the victims, which is very natural, right? Try to have compassion for who else? So when there are victims, there are perpetrators, right? The enemies or whatever, right? So whenever you hear of what terrorists attack, whatever, right? Try to also radiate compassion and loving kindness for the perpetrators as well. It's because of their ignorance, right? That they are doing such things, okay? And they don't know the karma, let's say, of such effect, of such actions. Okay, so try to also have compassion for them, and hopefully one day they will have the right view, right? So right view is so important. In Chinese, we always say, 宁可破戒, sorry, 宁可破戒, 不可破见. You know what it means? I translate first, okay? So we'll rather that you so-called break your precepts than break your so-called right view. Because if you break your precepts, at least there's a way to so-called repent. If you have the right view, you will know how to repent, you will know that you need to repent. But if you don't have the right view, you think that this is the right thing to do, then there will be many other consequences. Okay? So that's why attending such morning services are important, so you can have right views, and then from right views you can have right actions, right speech, right thought, etc., etc., the Noble Eightfold Path. Okay? Very good. Any last questions? Yes?
Just to add to the story just now, the first story about the revenge prince.
Yes.
Yeah, I did read about it many years ago. It seems the Sakra clans, they are actually a warrior class. They are master archers. Because the Buddha himself is an archer also.
Yeah.
This, they would have easily defeated the invading enemy army if they had wanted to. But I read it somewhere that because of respect for the Buddha and to keep their precepts, the first precept from breaking the first precept of killing, they intentionally miss their target, these archers from the Sakra clan, because they didn't want to perpetuate the cycle of hate. Because if they had killed these enemies, and then this karma will come back, and they will meet again in the future, killing each other. So because of the respect for the Buddha and the knowledge of this, the Buddhism and the karma, they decided to end it there, that war itself. That's why they all perish. But if you look at it that way, that region now is relatively more peaceful than other regions that are fighting. Like for example, in the Middle East. Now the northern India, like Bhutan and Nepal side, are relatively more peaceful because of that belief.
Okay, because of the precept that they uphold, maybe even from history until now, right? It's relatively like northern India. Yeah, Kosala was from northern India. Thank you, brother, for bringing up such a good point. So if we really learn from history, right, and then we must really believe, right, in the Buddha's wisdom. Okay, what would really triumph over everything, right? It's really compassion, ahimsa, right? Non-injury to others. So that's something that we should uphold. Even from, let's say from the, from a short period, you may not see the benefits, but it's going to benefit for years after that, even now thousands of years later. Okay, thank you so much. Very good. Okay, any last question? Yes?
Yeah, I think you have said it before, just to, maybe you want to comment some more. Say, for Singaporeans, we're lucky, so we can have our love and kindness to the country. We'll die for the country, back to the top, die to the top. But if you are a Malaysian, I think some of us are Malaysian, and what is happening there, it is very difficult to want to die for the country when the leaders, there's so many things happening there. So no doubt you say what you say is right, must still extend compare, but very difficult, if you know what's happening in Malaysia compared to Singapore. And I'm sure many of us are here are former Malaysians or still Malaysians. It's very difficult, very, very difficult.
Okay.
So how do you handle that?
Oh, but because personally I sometimes travel to Malaysia and I know many Malaysians, let's say, Yeah, and I talked to some Malays over there also. So, but in general, I don't. This is my personal opinion. When I interact with, especially Malaysian Buddhists, okay, I find that they overall they are very what's a good word? They are not as 现实, They are very welcoming, let's say, and to me, they are really compassionate also. Yeah, despite the situation that they are in. So, especially the Chinese there, to me they are more united, yeah, etc. So even, let's say, if you talk about the Chinese culture, so here, okay, we try to uphold the Chinese culture, but in Malaysia, I realized that the Chinese over there, they try to even, in a more, so-called, in a better way, they try to also protect the Chinese culture, yeah. So what I'm trying to say, sometimes we don't just look from the surface, let's say. Sometimes, let's say, which is what I try to stress us now, sometimes in times of, let's say, turbulence or when it's not so stable, etc., then all the more, all these spirits are being aroused, let's say, the positive spirits. Yeah, so I wouldn't worry so much for the Malaysians. Yeah, sometimes, okay, if they're not too happy, they can always come over. We welcome them. Okay, but if not, I think generally they really love their country, right? And then they are quite peace-loving also, and especially the Buddhists over there. Okay, yeah. So actually, in September, I'm being invited to try to lead a youth camp. I haven't confirmed my details, but they are doing very good there. I heard they started from a small, so-called one of the second-story place, and then now it's like three buildings or something dedicated to the Buddhist Association. So the Buddhist groups are doing very well there. And we know, let's say in terms of the Buddhist music, there are so many nice Buddhist music, right, that came from the Malaysian Buddhists especially. Okay, so I wouldn't worry too much. Yes, Brother Yo? Yes.
They may not like Obama, but they actually love America. Just like Singapore, it is more, our way of life, our people, our
Yes.
our culture, racial harmony, and it's more precious.
Yes.
To the present government.
Yes.
We need to see my country in the world.
Very good point, brother. Yes. Okay, all the brothers and sisters, right, we mentioned in our country, and also as Buddhists, right, all the brothers and sisters in this whole world, in this universe, and all the sentient beings in this whole world, we try to have compassion for everyone, every living being. Okay, very good. So, okay, I said we wanted to end off with looking at the topic again, right? Would you die for your country? Okay, so maybe, okay, I should ask, would you practice hard for your country? Yes or no? Can I have hands? Yes. Okay, good. Okay, lastly, before I go, but I think that you all have something on. Recently, I've done some drawings, let's say, and then they got it printed into bookmarks. It's 小沙弥. So I had wanted to write words at the back, but I didn't have time. But it's now mine. The pictures would speak 1,000 words. Okay, so I have about 100 小沙弥 here. Okay, so to give to, I hope everyone would have one. Okay, I think the kids will like it also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Venerable. We'll distribute this a little bit later.
Yeah. Can we do it quickly now? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, maybe first of all, can we pay respect to
okay.
Venerable?
Okay.
3 bows. First bow. Second bow. Third bow.
Would we be doing dedication? Shall I lead the dedication?
Okay,
Quick dedication now. Okay, good. So with every Dharma sharing, there will always be merits generated. So may we now generate all the merits from today's sharing, okay, to all our family members and all our loved ones, all our acquaintances, definitely to the well-being of our country and all our countrymen, and also to everyone in this whole wide world, to this universe, and all sentient beings in all the 6 realms. May all be well and happy. Okay, sadhu,
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 sadhu. Thank you. Okay.
So the Venerable will still be staying here for a while because what comes next is actually a performance by our Soracho choir. So may we welcome the Soracho choir